Nathaniel Hackett among the coaches out, one and done, and
what a tenure it was
in
Denver with him.
And he got the gig after a great job. Well, he was the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville whenever they went to the AFC Championship game. And then, of course, he was with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Matt LaFleur says he's open to Hackett rejoining his staff. And that's where, Hackett's a good coach. Not a good head coach, but a good assistant coach. And I think that's a good landing spot, all things considered. And the question would now be, okay, now what with Aaron Rodgers? And Aaron Rodgers was not on with Pat McAfee today. McAfee said they're rescheduling because he's in meetings both today and tomorrow with Green Bay. So they're including Aaron Rodgers in the future planning, and he's got to make his determination on what he's going to do with his future, both in Green Bay and in the league.
I, for one, cannot wait until we get another piece about Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers playing ping pong together.
Yeah.
And how that's going to magically bring back Aaron Rodgers to MVP form. I don't see it. I mean, maybe there's something there. Certainly the results are what they were with Hackett and Aaron Rodgers. I obviously believe it has a lot more to do with Aaron Rodgers and not as much to do with Nathaniel Hackett. But, I mean, if you're Matt LaFleur, I think you definitely look into it. Here's the other thing about Matt LaFleur. They have another season next year like they did this year. I don't know that he's going to be the coach in Green Bay. He is very much on the hot seat moving into next year, especially if Rodgers isn't a part of it and they take a step down with Love, let's say at quarterback. Then they're going to decide we got to go in a different direction. So LaFleur not on stable footing right now. Rodgers, future unknown with him. He just took a big step back from a play standpoint this year. So, yeah, why not bring in Nathaniel Hackett? I'm sure that'll fix everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's something LaFleur pointed to play calling as, he mentioned that in the past offseason, whenever they were inconsistent, he's pointing to play calling and what's, the structure of the offense. But ultimately, it's Rodgers, who's making the calls at the line of scrimmage and doing things within LaFleur's system. And it meshed well a year ago, number one seed, that didn't mesh well here. They were the top scoring offense, second only, to Dallas, I believe, a year ago. Really struggled. But they found a run game, got a two-headed monster in Dillon and Jones. And when you trade away Davante Adams, you got problems. The four highest paid quarterbacks this past season, not in the postseason.
Well, look at the two notable teams that traded away their best receiver and two of the best receivers in the game. Packers, Titans.
Yeah, the caveat is Kansas City.
True. That's a good point.
Patrick Mahomes just passed for 5,000 yards for the second time in his career.
Yeah, well, that's the difference is the quarterback there.
40 touchdowns.
But I would say that Travis Kelce, you could make the argument as to who's the most reliable passing target. He's not a wide receiver, I understand. Tyreek Hill was certainly their best wide receiver, but the other two teams, the drop-off from Tyreek Hill to Travis Kelce isn't as severe as the drop-off from Davante Adams to next best in Green Bay and A.J. Brown to next best in Tennessee.
But Kelsey's putting up tight end numbers, not wide receiver numbers. And he's leading the league there, and he's top 10 in receiving. But you have otherworldly numbers from both dudes in Miami. But Hill was incredible this year. Both guys deserve mention for Offensive Player of the Year, though. And then I think Mahomes is going to be the MVP. So, the other quarterbacks, though, top four paid, of course, Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Deshaun Watson for the 2022-23 season.
Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, it's got to get a lot better than the little glimpse we saw at the end of this season. If you're a Browns fan, you better hope that that's just a lot of rust that you witnessed with him, and now that he's played a little bit, knocked that rust off, he's going to have a complete offseason to prepare and practice to be the guy in Cleveland, that it looks a lot better. And you mentioned Kevin Stefanski as a possible name to watch to be fired in Cleveland. Instead, they end up firing their defensive coordinator, and Stefanski's still there. That's one that's got to pick up next year for the Browns.
Agreed.
I say that, but what's their recourse? with this contract that he has.
Nothing. I mean, they've got to make
it work. It's just got to work.
Yep.
It's a little bit similar to Russell Wilson, honestly, and everything they gave up in Denver for him. They just got to find a way to make it work.
Kyler Murray, too, that they've admitted in Arizona they're going to include Kyler Murray in the coaching search. Biggest playoff droughts that continue. The Jets were on pace to end the longest current playoff drought that is now at 12 seasons. And then Zach Wilson had to come back into the picture due to Mike White's injury. Denver trying to end their playoff drought of 7 seasons. Doesn't feel that long to me.
It's crazy. Denver. It feels like yesterday Peyton Manning was riding off into the sunset with the Super Bowl. Detroit
was right there. And they lost some, as good as their offense was, their defense early on, not good. And at the end of the year, they lost in a couple of shootouts. But they beat Green Bay. They keep them out. But the playoff drought continues for Detroit. They're the closest of this pack to me. Carolina and Atlanta are in a bad division. And which one can improve the most this offseason, given the fact that Carolina is going to have an opportunity to pair a new head coach with a quarterback of their choosing. Atlanta, they've been rebuilding through the cap and now have the best cap structure that they've had since Arthur Smith arrived there. 5 seasons each for Atlanta and Carolina. I think of that group, Detroit has the best opportunity, just as I see it right now and how they're built and structured. And given the fact that the offense is just rolling along, they need some help defensively. They've got some help coming with Hutchinson going into year number 2, and he was great in his rookie season, but that was pretty much it.
Of those teams, I don't think there's any doubt Detroit's in the best spot right now, roster standpoint, play-wise, the way they finished the season, their record this year. I also think that they're in the strangest spot from I don't know about that. Carolina, you clearly know what they need to do. They got to draft a quarterback. They're the team I'm circling as a possible mover up into that number 1 spot with a trade to go after Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. What is Detroit going to do ultimately at quarterback? Jared Goff had a great year. Yeah. He does a good job leading that offense. But have you seen enough with Jared Goff to think that this is the answer at quarterback
for them
with Detroit?
Now, yes. They can end their playoff drought with him, no question. They need big help on defense. Their offense is not of any issue here. And keep in mind, last year...
Isn't it crazy, though, that
he just had his best statistical season?
But Jared Goff was an afterthought in the Matthew Stafford deal.
Yeah.
That it was they're getting rid of a guy who can't win big.
Yeah.
And now he's going to go be a pedestrian quarterback for the Lions who never win. And now suddenly we're talking about Jared Goff as the franchise quarterback for the Detroit Lions, a team that's on the move and that's moving up in the NFL. It's just crazy to think about that based on when those two guys were traded.
Yeah.
No, it worked out for L.A., too.
But also, we're a year removed from Dan Campbell calling him out, saying, hey, I want more leadership from our quarterback. We've got to have that. And then not only did they have that this year, he's not turning the football over this year. His touchdown-interception ratio was really, really good. And, they win healthy in the backfield, great options, and they have one of the top offensive lines in football. That's where their investment around Goff has been. Yeah, so I like the way they're structured. They just need a couple more pieces defensively, and they need those guys to hit one or two the same way Hutchinson did. That guy's a beast.
He is, and they've got some great young options at wide receiver. I love the Lions. We came into this season, the preseason, I remember talking about how they didn't quit at the end of last season under Dan Campbell with a terrible record. Yeah. And on the final day of the regular season this year, they have their playoff hopes dashed, and they still don't quit. And they go out, and I think it's a pretty shocking outcome with everything the Packers had to play for, that they went in there as a touchdown underdog and found a way to win.
I didn't see the entire presser post-game. I saw clips. Did Dan Campbell cry? I would have set the over-under at, minus 9,000, yes.
Jamal Williams cried. I saw his on-the-field post-game interview. He's a very emotional guy. He went through a range of Hollywood-type emotions
he did.
during that interview.
Campbell,
I thought Aaron Rodgers almost cried he got slightly choked up talking about everything after the game.
And he was walking off with Randall Cobb and was not happy with the cameraman who got in front of him. He said, "Get behind me." At least I think that's what he said to him. McAfee will find out.